Today, I want to answer some of the questions I get about family, a rhyming proclamation for kids, talk about how we can teach kids the family proclamation better rather than just lecturing kids or showing them the picture of the, framed on our wall. I'm going to show you some of the art, some of the rhymes, how we taught certain hard topics. And of course, if you're here, you probably love and believe the family proclamation is an inspired document, that it's true doctrine. The parents should know it and live it, right? It teaches the ideal, but it's also a very liberal document, a very inclusive document in so many ways. It has even a clause, you might say, in there that talks about like, hey, families are different, different families are going to have different circumstances. It teaches roles and responsibility. But kids don't learn just through the principles alone. They're going to learn differently, right?
Blessed are your eyes, for they see.
There's a few things that work really well when I'm, teaching kids. It's fun, humor, play, rhythm, repetition. That's all stuff that we try to include, as well as, funny images and a little game like the hidden butterfly on every page. That's something we did. Stories, right? Narrative explanation for things. In this book, we have the story of a girl who grows up and she starts as a bit premortal and then as a baby and then grows up and starts to play and pretend to be a parent someday with her stuffed animals. And eventually she gets older and she starts to see the obstacles of this. And then ultimately there's a scene in heaven with Christ as a united family. They also learn well through images, through pictures. A lot of times they're listening to the words, but they're learning more from the illustration. So it was important to us that we're teaching in visual form. I don't think we have to dumb down the doctrine at all in a kid's book. I don't think we shy away. Some people were like, you can't teach procreation to a kid, or you can't teach, some of these things to a kid. And it's like, why not? Christ taught through parables. He taught through story. He taught through symbols that would then help us uncover meanings over time. Obviously, we want to make it age appropriate and fun, but I don't think we cut out sections that aren't appropriate for kids. That's the opposite of what we tried to do with this book. So if we take the Family Proclamation and divide it into each line, every principle that's taught there, then our goal was then to, how can we make a child understand this? Once we have that, how can we make it rhyme? What image should we add here? And then finally, do we move them out of order, the principles, in order to tell this story arc? And so the principles might not be in chronological order, but I can say with a lot of confidence that we really didn't skip a line other than maybe one or two, and I'll get to what those were. What's interesting is this could also be a book on the plan of salvation in many ways, or on just living the gospel of Jesus Christ, because it does have that beginning, premortal, and that end in heaven. It kind of shows the journey through the lens of the family. Okay, so let me go to some of the pages that might be more controversial, might have some tricky principles, and just show you, in case you're wondering if this is going to be a tool for your family, I'll just show you how we taught them. I'll show you in rhyme form. I'll read it, show you the art, and then you can make your own decision on it, if we did it right or not. In the beginning, before earth began, your spirit lived as part of God's fam. You're a child of God, and that's always true, with purpose, with power, with promise in you. You lived with your heavenly parents above, a father and mother who filled you with love. You've had a gender, girl or boy, from the start. It's part of your spirit, your body, your heart. Already, first spread, gender is eternal. It was with your premortal identity. It's coming with you to earth. This is one of the more controversial elements of the Family Proclamation. This idea that gender is eternal is not popular. So how do you teach that to kids? People would have us separate the terms gender from sex, that your gender is different. It's not what we believe. And it needs to be taught. It needs to be taught young. And so that's how we went with that. We'll skip forward. Came to earth, you got a body, you're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. We go through that page. God didn't send us alone. We have families. It's a tool to help us learn and grow. What about the commandment to multiply and replenish the earth? How do we teach that? Well, we ask the question, where did it start, this whole family thing? With Adam and Eve in the Garden of Spring. God gave us them commandments and covenants to get married, have children, and teach what is true. Very clear from the get-go. Marriage isn't a social construct. It's not something we invented. It's something that God implemented from the beginning. And that's how we taught that lesson. There's so much in the Family Proclamation about the responsibilities of a parent, of a married couple. And so we teach all about those. Gender roles is one of the more controversial elements, you could say, of the Family Proclamation. And I think we did okay. A dad has a job to lead with God's light. That line, I don't care about it all that much. That's our setup line for the core responsibilities given in the Family Proclamation of a father, which are to preside and provide and protect with his mind. So we hit on all three of them, and we were able to do that. A mom has a job, the Lord set apart. Again, that's the setup line. The doctrine is here. To nurture her children with all of her heart. The trickiest page to figure out. What do we do here? And again, I think we did okay, but you'll have to let me know your thoughts in the comments. If it wasn't clear enough, the next page then clarifies. As equal partners, they work side by side. Through work and through worship, the Lord as their guide. They share in the load, in the joy, and the mess, and build up a home where the spirit can rest. Okay, but how did we teach procreation, right? That's a tricky one to teach to children. We did kind of go with the cop-out route, but here it is. Before you were born, God made it quite clear that babies belong in a family held dear. In marriage, there's power to help babies grow. How does that work? Ask your parents, they know. Then the character starts to imagine, someday I'm going to have kids, and I'm going to pretend to be a parent with my stuffed animals here. It says God wants children to have parents who care, who've promised to love and protect what they share. That gift to have babies is not random or free. It's meant for a marriage, as God said it should be. It teaches chastity. Again, maybe not in a very explicit way like the Family Proclamation, but we didn't gloss over these principles. We tried to say, okay, how can we make this age appropriate and still teach? Of course, there's beautiful pages about disability, death, illness, the family who can step in and help. God sees your family. It can be sad when families are different. When people die, there's power in the temple to unite families for eternity. We go through all these concepts. In the last 2 pages, I've talked about this a lot on other shows, right? The opposition pages. Some people don't care how a family should be. They reject what is true or pretend not to see. I have a very personal kind of spiritual experience along with that line that if you're ever around me, feel free to ask. I'm not going to share it in this video. But why is it worded that way? Then we have, but God's pattern is perfect. His plan is secure. When built upon truth, families always endure. New voices now question what's timeless and true. They say that what God taught us no longer will do. This idea that we need to progress past God and that, again, that these things were constructs of religion. They're oppressive. We're moving past these ideologies. Don't waste time with kids, the loud voices shout. That's something you'll hear toxic feminism say often. Chase money or comfort. That's what life's about. Again, that could go after toxic feminism, the ideology of consumerism, the ideologies of, I guess, just like waiting around, not repenting, not improving, not going toward something greater than yourself. The prophet talked so much about this in his talk. The purpose of life. We can't lose track of how important children are. The purpose of life is families. Our strength comes from families, right? And of course, on this page, we have other elements. My kids, this is their favorite page because they're always, oh, what do the signs say? Why are there angry people? And they want to ask these questions. Commandments are mean is one of them. Now that might seem simple. It's a great way to teach kids, but even adults, I mean, the critics of the church who left because the church was oppressive to everyone because of commandments, because of the shame they felt. I mean, the ideology starts here. Commandments aren't mean. Believing in a higher law isn't inherently harmful. Or why get married? Why not just live with the person you love? Why not just live solo your whole life? Why do we have to get married? Why does that matter? That's another sign. Then, of course, we have the doctor who's teaching confusing things about gender. The mother, or it was supposed to be blue. It's a little tint of green there. The green-haired feminist, you could say, who says motherhood is oppressive. And then the man who's holding a sign, we want change. These confusing voices on social media. The next page talks about when covenants are broken and how that makes God sad. I love the line, God's laws are a gift, not chains or a chore. They lead us to joy that will last evermore. And this is where we did make a little bit of a pivot. In the Family Proc, that final section, it talks about those who feel responsibility. Then it talks about leaning on governments, and we urge governments to do this and that. We left that line out and made it more about the individual. We urge you to hold dear to these principles, not governments. So that was one change we made. The other clear change that we made is there's a line that's like, the happiness in family life is most likely to be achieved when founded upon the teachings of Jesus Christ. Families are built on the foundation of forgiveness, prayer. You know, it goes through all of those principles. Wholesome recreational activities. Now, we didn't do a great job of getting that into one page. It's a big, long laundry list. And so instead, we tried to work it throughout in the art. For example, on this second to last page, they're playing a game. That's our wholesome recreational activities page. Whereas before, forgiveness is shown when the families are working together, maybe. Prayer is shown. So we tried to show it, but I will admit, we skipped over that line in the text. And that's the other one that if you're reading the Family Proc, you won't find that in here other than the artwork. The family is central and Christ leads the way for your family to live with God one day. So that's the book. We tried to stay very, very true to the doctrine, to what it's teaching, and to do our best to not skip over anything. Even though some of these themes might seem a little broad or too high level for a kid to understand, I think there's a way we can approach it. You'll have to let me know how we did. Have you gotten the book? Do you like the book? What's your experience with it? What can we do better? We're going to do more books like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, by small and simple screens, worldviews are formed.